This is how I set up my Nitrous Express mainline kit. It's one of the most basic kits that you can get from Nitrous Express for a 4150 flange Holley carb. Okay. I've already had this on the car, so it's basically set up this. So this will just be an overview. I'm not installing it here. I'm just reinstalling it actually. So first is I run a carb spacer. Basically, on my setup with this intake anyway, I need a little bit more clearance here for the plate in the back. Okay, if it's down there, I run into all kinds of problems with it running into the spark plug wires and everything. So I run a plate. I just run a simple 1/2 inch or 1 inch open spacer. Okay, so this is the fuel side, this is the nitrous side. I forgot my my solenoid bracket goes on there. Now it goes on there first. So the nitrous solenoid will sit here. There's a couple screws in the bottom that you can fit in here and orient it any way you want. And then the fuel solenoid would go over here. Okay, and then you need another gasket on top of the plate, then the nitrous plate, and then another gasket and the carb. Okay, here, whoop, I didn't have it right. Okay, now the carb goes on there. Okay, so these solenoids, they say in the instructions, are designed to hang freely out in the air. Just buy this without the bracket. I put the bracket in just because I didn't like the idea of them just hanging in the air. You know, I feel like if vibrations or anything like that, it could work itself loose. So I use the bracket. That's an option. Next go the nitrous solenoid here, fuel solenoid here. So now the solenoids are installed. Okay, you got your fuel solenoid, nitrous solenoid here. Okay, this is the out, meaning the supply line is going to come on this side, coming out of the solenoid into the plate, and same here, in and then out, in and then out. Make sure you have that set up. Now the supply line here is coming up here. I ran it down along the frame rail, okay, and fastened it along. I have also my battery cable running down there for the trunk mounted battery. So I have that running along inside the frame rail, along with the battery cable, and that comes back to here, and the nitrous bottle is mounted that. Now they give you these brackets, okay, and the bottle's got to be mounted on an incline. So this back bracket is the lower bracket, this is the higher bracket, and then there's the supply line that gets attached to the bottle, and there's my gauge. Okay, so that's all pretty basic. Okay, now for the connections, all right, each solenoid has 2 wires coming from it. One would be power, one would be ground. Now on my setup, it's not run that way because I'm using the nitrous or the NOS mini controller. So one of these goes to to power, and then the other one goes back into the controller. It's grounded through the controller. Okay, so these are wired together, one of each. So you see the nitrous solenoid has blue wires, the fuel solenoid is black. So one of each is going, and it doesn't matter which two, okay? It's just, that's how that's wired. Now I run a separate 1 gallon fuel cell with, I put 110 octane in it, supplying, so when the nitrous switch is activated, that activates, it's taking fuel from that. So to run that setup, you need another fuel pump. I had an extra Holley blue pump, so I have that set up into the system. So when the nitrous switch is armed, that comes on, and when the switch is activated, when the parameters are met on the controller, the fuel pump's on, and you get a supply of fuel, and you know you have the right fuel pressure, because that's very important. You don't want straight nitrous going in without enough fuel. All right, so I will show you how I set up my fuel tank next. Here's the 1 gallon fuel cell, folded back up. What I did was I just welded some tabs and a brace from this inner fender well here all the way up into the core support over here, and then 2 tabs coming down. It's a little tight, but you can get a socket on all of these and get them off. Here I have a little bit of insulation just in case it gets a little close to the radiator and keep that cooler. And then the fuel line coming out, if you can see it down there. Right there I have a 90-degree elbow. And then that kind of snakes around to here. Oops, sorry. To here, and this is going to go to my fuel regulator here with a fuel pressure gauge, and then over to the solenoid. So now the regulator's hooked up, fuel line's hooked up, fuel pressure gauge for the standalone tank. I'll flip the switch on. You see it's bringing it up. We're looking at about 6.5 pounds. I'll have to adjust that. Offhand, they have there's a chart to follow, and according to what you are, how much nitrous you're spraying, there's a fuel pressure recommended. I believe it was 8, pretty much all the way up to about 200. But that you would have to determine. So that's all set up. Next thing I got to do is hook up the nitrous line to the solenoid. This other fitting here is for the purge, which comes up here. That solenoid is there, and we'll get to that. So my nitrous lines are hooked up. Right here, the bigger one is the main line running from the bottle. Right here we have the purge, and I have that running through the firewall. I have it mounted right here, and then you just bend your line and however much you want. So this kit does not come with the purge kit, I should add. Okay, I bought this off of a guy. This kit, I bought the kit new, and he had bought the purge, so I got a pretty good deal because I got the purge. You could use any nitrous solenoid to make a purge. So I got, this is a Zex Purge kit, but anyway, so that's that. And the Purge is just 2 wires also, just like the nitrous solenoid. You have one going to your button, your Purge button, wherever you want to mount that, and then one going to ground. I think I have it grounded right there on the firewall. I want to add that these fittings here are sealed with red Loctite. The number is 271. And that sealed it pretty good, because when I first did this I had some trouble getting it sealed. Ended up using Teflon tape, which they tell you not to do, but that was the only way I could get it to seal. So when I had this back off over the winter, I decided to do some research, and that was the consensus, was that red Loctite, and it worked. So if you see this white stuff here, that was a different pipe sealant that ended up working, so I didn't take it back apart. It's not Teflon tape there. But if you have any problem sealing it, use the red Loctite. Okay, so I will go turn the bottle on, and we can test the Purge kit. So right here, there's the bottle's on. You can see the pressure gauge, and it's at about 700, which right now it's cold. So, and right here is where we would check for leaks. Actually, back here there wouldn't be any leak on this side yet, because the solenoid is closed. But you have here, where those lines are coming in, and so we have no leaks, so that's good. Yeah, this is the Loctite I used, high strength red. So let's check the Purge. Turn the key on right here. This is my Purge button. Good. So this system is ready to go. Before I go any further, I closed the nitrous bottle. Okay, so there still is nitrous in the line, but I want to check the solenoids and make sure that they're being activated, but I don't want nitrous in the system. I just want to hear them click on. So what I'll do is I'll purge the rest of the nitrous out of here. There. Now I'll go hook it up. Okay, and I run my system through a relay right here. Okay, and so one connection of the solenoids gets plugged into this right here. And then that's going from the relay into the solenoids, and then this wire here is going to my controller. That gets hooked up to the other solenoid. And then you have the relay switch, and then the power, the 12 volts to the relay, or the switch, I'm sorry. And this is a wide open throttle switch, so when I click it, that should activate the solenoids, and I should hear them click. Let me arm the system. Okay, everything is plugged in, and the system is armed. So when I hit this switch, you should hear this click and this solenoid click. Oh, wait a second. So this is my NOS mini controller. And this kind of can help make learning nitrous a lot simpler. So before, when I just tried, when I just tried that the switch, okay, it did not work because I have this set up. So I go to stage 1 because I'm only running one stage. And I don't want the graph. I want the setup. Activation. So it won't kick on because you can see that it's set for 3,000 RPMs. So what I have to do is bring that down to 0. Okay, and save. Basically that tells the system unless when it hits 3,000 RPMs to activate. Nitrous will not, I don't care from wide open, until that 3,000 RPMs hits, it will not come on. It shuts off at 7,500. Okay, and I'll never go to 7,500, but that's just in case the throttle was to ever get stuck or something like that. All right, so now let's go check it. So when I hit this switch, there they are. And system is set up. So that's basically the rundown of the mainline nitrous kit.